This is Professor Teresa Pelkie. This is Session 5, Part 3, Selecting when null values are present. To get started, we'll take a quick look at the country table again. Here you see a select statement that selects 3 columns in the country table. The columns are name for the country name, continent, and independence year. At this point, we don't have a where clause or an order by clause, so we are doing a full table select. As you can see, there are several rows that have null values in the independence year column. The workbench shows a little highlighted null as the value for the column. Keep in mind that a null value means that no value has been assigned to the column. Just from looking at this slide, it is reasonable to assume that the independence year column is a numeric data type, but there is no value assigned to the column for some of the rows. Null in a numeric column does not mean that the value is 0. Null in a character column does not mean that the value is blank or empty string. Null means that there is no value assigned to the column. Now, the word null is not actually stored in the table. When a null-capable column is defined for a table, the database management system allocates a bit field that is associated with the column. The purpose of the bit field is to keep track of the values of the column in terms of its nullness. The bit field itself is not accessible to us, so tools like the workbench show some sort of indication when the column value is null. So here's what we want to do with this null-capable independence year column. We want to select countries where the independence year is equal to null, and we want to select countries where the independence year is not equal to null. So let's add a where clause and return the rows where the independence year is null. You can see that this didn't work. When we use the where clause, where independence year equals null, we don't get anything back in the results set. It also doesn't work for the not equals where clause. What's going on here? What use are null values if you can't select them? Part of the problem of selecting for a null value is the terminology used. We would usually say something like, select a row where the independence year equals null. The problem is in the word equals. It turns out that null is not equal to anything. Strangely enough, null is not even equal to null, so you can't use the equals operator to compare two null values. Instead of using the equals or not equals operators, SQL uses the is null and is not null keywords as shown here. Once you see what's going on and how you use these keywords to select null values, it's not difficult to work with nulls. Just remember, when you're working with a null-capable column and you need to select based on its value, you need to change your terminology. Rather than say, select a row where independence year equals null, say, select a row where independence year is null. A null-capable column will be in one of two states. It either is null, in which case there is no value in the column, or it is not null, in which case there is a value. Keep in mind the value is one thing and the null state of the column is another. When you're comparing for a value in a column, that is where you use the comparison operators. When you're checking for states of the null, you use the is null or is not null keywords. Now that you've seen how to work with null-capable columns in a where clause, we'll review how you can find out if a column is defined as being null-capable. One way to check this is to use the Table Inspector feature of the workbench. To get to the Table Inspector, you can right-click the table name and click the Table Inspector item in the pop-up menu shown at item 1. You can also hover over the table name and then click the eye icon that appears to the right of the table name shown at item 2. Either technique opens a series of panels in the workbench. This shows the table inspector panels that are opened for the country table. When the panels are first opened, the Info tab is displayed, so you need to click the Columns tab. The Columns panel shows the column names that are defined for the country table. It shows the data type, default value, and the nullable value for the column. For example, the Independence Year column is shown about halfway down the column list. If you read across the row for the Independence Year column attributes, you see that its nullable value is set to yes. That means that the Independence Year column is null capable. This slide shows another way that you can retrieve the column definitions for a table. Back in the Navigator part of the workbench, right-click the table name. This time, click the Alter Table item in the pop-up menu, shown at Item 1. The icon for the Alter Table is shown at Item 2. Hover over the table name until the icons appear, then click the middle icon. It looks like a little wrench. The Alter Table panel opens in the workbench. This shows the same type of information that you saw on the Table Inspector Columns panel, but it is laid out differently on the Alter Table panel. On this panel, look at the column of checkboxes that is under the NN heading. The NN means not null. If the NN checkbox is checked, that means that the table column that is shown on the left side of the panel cannot be null. If the NN checkbox is not checked, the table column is null capable. Again, the Independence Year column is about halfway down the column list on the far left. Once you locate that column name, go across the row to the NN column. You'll see that the NN checkbox is not checked, meaning that Independence Year is null capable. The reason for knowing how to find out if a column is null capable is so that you'll know if you have null values in the data. If a column is not null capable, then there will always be a value in the column. If the column is not null capable, the database management system will not let you insert a new row with a null value for the column or update an existing row to a null value. If a column is null capable, you can use the isNull and isNotNull keywords on a where clause. MySQL lets you use those keywords even on columns that are not null capable. But if you work with other database management systems, you might be limited to using those keywords with columns that are null capable. In the next video, we'll expand the where clause to use multiple selection criteria.